Welcome back, Triumph Nation. This past week taught us it's not just about who wins, it's about how they get there. This week, we'll cover CFP Championship, the crazy NFL Divisional rounds, and a little bit about UFC 324.
Yeah, man, let's get into it. Got a loaded slate today. A lot of good stuff to talk about.
Let's do it. Let's start with the amazing championship game from this past Monday.
Indiana versus Miami. It was a thriller. Being a newer football fan, it's definitely one of the more exciting championships that I've watched. We can go through the stats first. Indiana won 27-21. Fernando Mendoza went 16 for 27, 186 yards, touchdown. Kalen Black, 17 carries, 79 yards. Omar Cooper Jr., 5 receptions, 71 yards. It was just a thriller from beginning to end. What are your thoughts?
It was a great game. Indiana pretty much controlled the game up until about the fourth quarter. They had a blocked punt that really sealed the deal. It was a classic. Fernando Mendoza, we've seen this time and time again, week in and week out. He's not going to blow the stat line up, but he is just a field general. And it seems like every time they lean on him, every time Siggy needed him to make a play or make a pass or make a run, as we saw on a fourth down in the championship, he steps up to the plate and he hits a homer every time. What impressed me most was Mendoza's resilience. That fourth down play that he made, it was a QB draw, and he powered in. It was a prime example of this is why that guy won the Heisman. He played really well, and then he made some good passes to that tight end that really came out of nowhere this season, Becker. He made a really good back shoulder throw, but seems Indiana's a breath of fresh air, and it's crazy to say that after a few weeks ago how they just completely dominated my Oregon Ducks. So the tide might be turning in the college football realm. It's exciting.
Yeah, they're doing this without a lot of big donors, so you can imagine all the donors that are fixing to come out the woodworks for them out in Indiana. So that's exciting to think about. First off, you talking about Fernando Mendoza, Heisman winner. I'll be the first to say we weren't huge fans of that decision. I had a couple people that I would have probably picked before him for the Heisman. So I got to give him his due props. You said it. That QB draw was like a movie, literally. The way he finished it, diving over the line, getting popped on the way down. Like, I don't know any other way to describe it besides it was just like a movie. So watching that, it was like pure poetry. And then I gotta say, like, who he reminds me of as far as a pro comp, he just reminds me. It's hard because it's in the pocket when I'm thinking about this, but the way Tom Brady plays in the pocket, like, it's nothing flashy, but it's always the right move, the right play, always enough to get the first, always enough. It's always the right move. So it's like he's just someone that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. As far as what he can do on the ground, that's a whole different story, and we saw that as well, but the dude's just a stud. He's definitely one of the more pro ready quarterbacks that I've seen, in my opinion. The dude's just a killer. He's a dog. And like he said in the post game interview, he's willing to take shots from the front and back. So the dude's a beast.
Yeah, I would take him over CJ Stroud 100%.
Today, if you're going back to that divisional round game, you're putting Fernando Mendoza in instead of CJ Stroud. That's what you're saying.
100%. 100%.
Well, we'll get into that. I know you've got quite a bit to say on that. I know you're chomping at the bit. But as far as Indiana, I mean, you can't say enough about him. Roman Himby, the other guy whose last name I can't pronounce, who's a tailback who got a touchdown. But yeah, they're killers. And then on the Miami side, like, I got to give them their props as well. Those guys just would not quit. Like, they took every single shot and then clawed back. So you could have put any other team in there, and I think they would have lost against Indiana, but I think it was the perfect team for them to go against as far as a team that has a crap ton amount of grit, that dog in them, that fight. They're super physical. You saw Fernando Mendoza was beat to hell by the end of the game. They're super physical. You saw Kurt Signetti complaining about it at halftime as well. They're just resilient, man. So it's tough to see a team like that who you felt like maybe they did enough to deserve something out of that, but that's just not how the game works. So
Yeah, that was a throwback showdown that just kind of reminds us of really what it's all about. In Miami, they played their hearts out. They showed a lot of grit, like you said. So they were in it at the very end. If Carson Beck read that defense a little bit better, maybe it'd be a different story. If Sharp didn't have help from the safety on the backside, it could be a lot different. But like you were saying, they're just super disciplined and really not just from Fernando Mendoza, but that whole team. They rarely make mistakes. So they're always at the right place at the right time. That Fernando Mendoza fourth down run for the touchdown, that I despised Indiana, really. I was happy for them, and I also was despising them at the same time. But when he just showed that true grit and powered into the end zone, diving like Superman, you can't help but get hyped. It was a great game and a great showcase for college football.
Definitely. And like you said, you can't help but root for the kid. As far as Miami, all their stars showed up. Like you said, it could have been one play that made a difference. In the end, you got to think that the most prepared team came out with a victory there. But Carson Beck, 19 for 32, 232 yards, one touchdown. Mark Fletcher, 17 carries, 112 yards, two touchdowns. Malachi Tony, 10 receptions, 122 yards, one touchdown. So all their stars produced, man. Like, you can't really complain if you're a Miami fan. Your guys came out and they produced. Like you said, if Carson Beck makes a different decision at the end, maybe that changes things. But man, it's just like you said, the team that made the fewest mistakes came out with the W.
I feel like if we put any other team in the nation going against Indiana, it would have been just a blowout.
Yeah, based on what we've seen in the playoffs, I'm very comfortable saying that. There's not another team that I think would be able to put up a fight like that besides Miami. Their defensive ends are the two best in the country, arguably. So they were very instrumental in keeping them in that game. So they have stars on almost every spot on the defense as well as the offense. So they were ready. I want to say you can see the talent difference, but Indiana just plays their game so well and they make so few amount of errors. You really almost can't. But you can see the difference in the players and how explosive they are on the Miami side. But it's just the scheme, it's the way they play. I'm talking about Indiana, their determination and fortitude just to be able to produce and just systematically break down a team and get out ahead and then just stay ahead throughout the game.
They're the gold standard of what a football team should be and should represent for each other and for a fan base. It really boils down to they don't make mistakes, and if you make a mistake, they're going to capitalize. They had a block punt for a touchdown, and Miami lost by 6 points. That could have been a determining factor, and it was the determining factor for how that game played out.
Yeah, it's like an example of how, your football players should fight for each other and be together, but also that it's possible to do it in this NIL era without all the donors. Indiana wasn't a big team that was in the top 10 of NIL donations. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they're not going and getting the 5 stars, the 4 stars. They're getting half their squads from JMU, and they just won the national championship. So to give a shit ton of props to Kurt Signetti. I think it's pretty clear now he's the best coach in college football, at least as far as where we are at now. I know Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, all those guys have a really great reputation, but just what Kurt Signetti's been able to do, and not only that, but say what he was going to do and then do it only 2 years later, it's just insane to me. So from top to bottom, coaching to the trainers, it just seems like these guys are pissing excellence right now. So props to them.
Kurt Signetti is the gold standard as well. He is the best coach in the nation by far. And out of all of Nick Saban's proteges, he is by far the best. Just what he's been able to do, like you said, in 2 years with most of them JMU transfers. So they might not be as good next year, but they're still going to be in contention. This is a brand new era in college football, and really it's wide open now. With that NIL deal, they opened up the Pandora's box, so college football it'll never be the same. I don't think we'll see the same blue bloods that we've seen the past 20 years or 30 years. It's going to be a whole new blood of teams competing and fighting. You saw Mendoza's brother the next day after they won the championship. He grabbed his bag and he dipped. He transferred to Georgia Tech. So it's crazy to see that happen, and that adds a whole nother layer to these coaches trying to build loyalty among their teams.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was definitely surprised to see that. Like I keep saying, I'm a newer fan of college football. I think there's a new kid, Hoover, that they're planning to start next year for Indiana. But definitely, hearing the stories leading up, his brother, Fernando's brother, is the backup. You immediately think, oh, all right, this kid's next up going into the next following year. But that came across the screen, and I was definitely surprised. So I'm excited to see what this kid can bring to the table playing for Georgia Tech. And then definitely excited to see what Signetti can do with a different quarterback, a little bit of a different team next year, and see how they do.
You want to get into some NFL divisional talk?
Yeah, let's get into some NFL. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos. Broncos came out with a W, 33-30 in overtime. Bo Nix, 26 for 46, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was also the leading rusher with 12 carries, 29 yards. And then we got Marvin Mims Jr., 8 receptions, 93 yards, 1 touchdown. It's just a crazy game from beginning to end. What are your thoughts on it, man?
I think Brandon Cooks did catch it, especially after seeing some other situations that were very similar play out later in this past weekend slate. But it was a really good game. I was scrolling on Facebook the other day and saw that it was the highest viewed NFL game in the divisional round in NFL history. It had like almost 56 million viewers. That's just insane. It was a great game, especially any game that goes into overtime is awesome. You get extra 10 minutes during the regular season, and then in the playoffs, you get a full 15-minute quarter. So it was a really good game, and you feel a lot of pain for Josh Allen, and you could see just the pain radiating from him. He's crying in the post-game presser, just taking all the blame, saying they lost because of him. It was all his fault. He should have been better, should have been a better leader. When you think about it, there's not a better leader that you can have outside of the ones that take all the blame and take all the fault for, but really wasn't all his fault. So I was going for the Bills, but also the Broncos. They pulled out a victory and they earned it. They deserved it. Came with a cost. Bo Nix is out. They got Jared Stidham. We'll see what Stiddy can do. I don't really have any faith in the guy. People are trying to hype it up. The media trying to build it up, saying he can be the next Nick Foles. I don't see that happening whatsoever. But it will be interesting. Patriots, I think, will pull it out. But it was a really good game.
Definitely, man. Josh Allen, he could have made a couple better plays here and there for sure. You can say that about anybody, but one thing you can definitely say about him is that he always puts it out there for everyone to see, man. So some basketball player that I can't remember said, I'm either going to shoot us in the game or I'm going to shoot us out of the game. So that's what you get with Josh Allen. And a lot of the times he's going to get you the win doing that same exact thing. So you can't really complain when he doesn't pull it off. He's been insane as far as caliber of quarterback, especially in the playoffs. So I definitely say this is not something you can expect from him, especially in the playoffs, but 25 for 39, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. James Cook, 24 carries, 117 yards. Dalton Kincaid, 6 receptions, 83 yards, 1 touchdown. These guys were producing. And then you mentioned the Brandon Cooks. You know, it's tough. I'm still going back and forth even as we speak now. I do think it was an interception just because I don't think he had the control going to the ground. I think when you look at the footage, when you're facing when you're facing the offense and it's showing that camera angle, it looks like he has control. But when you're looking at it facing the end zone, facing the defensive side of the ball, it looks like that ball's moving as he's going down. So that's definitely up for debate. I've seen multiple people saying different things. At the end of the day, I'm a Cowboys fan, and all that does is give me PTSD from the Des Bryant catch. So I'm like, well, If that wasn't a catch, then nothing else is a fucking catch. So y'all can deal with it. But you do gotta feel for the Buffalo Bills, man. It's like these guys cannot catch a freaking break. Every time they get so close, it's like so close yet so far. And then you add on top of that that they just fired Sean McDermott, who, in my opinion, has got them as close as to the promised land as they've gotten in a very long time since the Four Falls of Buffalo. So that was definitely, I don't want to say surprising, but it was a bold move. You know what I mean? To move on from someone that's consistent, that always keeps you in the running, that really rebuilt your program. Those are his players. He's been there since 2017, so it's a bold move. What'd you think about that?
I thought it was bullshit. Just the way it went down, and then you see a press conference with the Bills owner and then Brandon Beam, the GM, and they're throwing shade at Keon Coleman. They're
Yeah,
throwing
that was
shade at
crazy.
Sean McDermott. It's
It's like,
just like, it reminds you of like the shit show in New York with the Jets. It's crazy that Brandon Beam got away with this and got out of this situation unscathed, because when you think about the players that Josh Allen had at his disposal at wide receiver, he had nobody. Brandon Cooks has been in the league for 30 freaking years. Outside of that, who is a reliable catcher? You got Dalton Kincaid. He's come on pretty well later in the season, but he's a tight end. You need another reliable wide receiver. You need a wide receiver
hey
one,
man,
and they never
they've
got it
got
to him.
a they got Miko Hardman. What are you talking about?
He had one play of fame in the Super Bowl a few years ago with the
Yeah,
Chiefs,
yeah,
and it's crazy. It's such a backstab in my view. The Bills ownership just backstabbed Sean McDermott. I love Sean McDermott. He's a player's coach. He's a great guy, a great man to lead that locker room. And for you to get rid of him and keep Brandon Beam, I thought the Bills were cursed. And thinking about it, they're not cursed with some fantasy or supernatural thing. It is the curse of the ownership and Brandon Beam. He's making the plays. He's making the moves for adding players and subtracting players. So, and he got a promotion.
yes. I'm familiar, very familiar with the ownership curse. Unfortunately, man, I was super surprised that they're keeping the GM, firing the head coach. Ultimately, that's what you get when one of you is sitting in the press box watching the game, pouring in whatever you want to into the owner's ear. It's no secret that the GMs stick around longer than the head coaches in the NFL, and that's definitely the reason why they're getting to choose the information and input that they're giving to the owner. So, if that's all the owner has to make his decisions on, that's definitely going to affect it. So,
That's why
um,
it's so important for these owners to get on the floor, work with these players, talk with these players, build some type of relationship with these players so you can kind of get a feel for who they are as a person and their character, their work ethic. Just not leaning into the GM and only taking what he says to be true.
yeah, for me, it's like at the end of the day, a lot of these guys aren't just NFL owners, right? They're billionaires in tech, oil, whatever they do, right? So at the end of the day, how realistic is that for them to do that? What I will say is that they do have to have, if they're going to go that route, a very reliable and capable GM, someone like I would say Lynch from the 49ers, Howie Roseman, just type of guys like that. So where you can have ultimate comfortability, like, hey, we're going to be taken care of and I don't have to worry about that stuff. But when you have someone like Bean, it's a hard argument, right? Because the team has been good. The team has been competitive. They've been so close. But for him to make the decision that, oh, it's the head coach is just insane to me.
Yeah, we could talk a little more about John Lynch later. He said some interesting things about the electro field, whatever the hell
I
it's
was
called.
onto it, man. I was telling you, it's a damn conspiracy.
He said, there perhaps might be a situation. We will look into
Hey,
it.
they kick our ass every year. I say move it closer. Fuck it.
On that note, we had the 49ers and the Seahawks later that day.
49ers. Oh man, they got their asses kicked. 6-41, lost to Seattle.
There
What
was
can you
really
say,
no
man?
hope.
It was just abysmal. Effort from those guys, man. Start with Sam Darnold, 12 for 17, 124 yards, one touchdown. Kenneth Walker, 19 carries, 116 yards, three touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, five receptions, 60 yards. It just wasn't close. I don't know what else to say. It does not make the electrical substation conversation look any better. What are your thoughts?
49ers are licking their electro wounds or whatever the hell it is.
Correct.
I knew the game was over after the first kickoff. The opening kickoff, Shaheed took it all the way to the house and set off a earthquake alarm on the earthquake detector, whatever it's called. And from that point on, I was like, yeah, this is going to be ugly. And it was ugly. Kenneth Walker carried the Seahawks. They didn't have to, everybody else didn't really have to do too much. That defense was dominant. They didn't let Purdy do anything, CMC do anything. They just bullied the receivers out wide. So JSN, he didn't have to do too much. Cooper Kupp made a couple good plays that we haven't seen much this season. But really, Kenneth Walker, he carried the team and put that team on his back. Zach Charbonnet do fairly well until he got hurt. They are going to miss him. He's out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. So now it's all up to Kenneth Walker to carry that running game moving forward in this championship weekend. But the Seahawks look really good. It's very hard to pick between them and the Rams to represent the NFC just because they're so similar, very similar.
Yeah, for me, that next matchup is like which one of these teams is going to win the Super Bowl in the next game. The Seahawks just look like they're getting better, man. They just have a complete team. I just watched a little snippet of McDonald's first team speech that he gave, and he basically predicted that they're going to be in this exact spot in January on a wet, rainy game, and it's going to be a shitty environment for the other guys, but it's going to be perfect for us. And bro, this guy was giving this speech, his first team speech 9 months ago, and here his team is like he set the tone, and man, they just produced every single week to get themselves into this spot. So super impressive. I'm gonna be glued to the TV watching them and the Rams. That's gonna be electric. You definitely don't think that that game's gonna be anything like this one that we just watched. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one, man.
I think it'll be a low scoring affair. And the 49ers, they had a rough week. They lose from a blowout to the Seahawks, and then a couple days later, they lose their defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. So it feels like the sky is falling down in Santa Clara.
Yeah, man, you said it. Losing Sala, the electrical substation thing, and just the way that they've just hit that playoff wall. It just seems like every single year. I mean, you've got to be able to switch something up. You know, I'm a big fan of Kyle Shanahan, big fan of Lynch as far as the GM. I think he's managed the team great since he's been at the helm of that thing. So the question is, like, what is the difference, right? What's going to get him over that next step? And it's hard because I mean, when the team is healthy, you've got stars in a stacked team, like everywhere you look. Maybe it's the receivers, maybe it's upgrading that, and then I know Purdy's going to be sticking around for a while, so it's like, what else can you do?
I don't know what they can do. I know step one would be figuring out what the hell that electro field is doing.
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be
pretty
step number
crazy.
one for me.
Yeah.
Can't be a coincidence, right? Can't be.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't think it's any coincidence. Just looking at it from above, top five in adjusted games lost for 10 of 11 seasons, 7 to 8 full Achilles/slash patellar ruptures. League average is 2 to 3 a year total. 40 plus major hamstring and calf tears since moving to Levi's Stadium in 2014. High ankle injuries every single year. No other franchise comes close. That was the post I was looking at that just blew me away. They are far and above the average injuries per year and since they've moved to that location. So I mean, something's got to be done. I don't know if they put a big ass copper curtain in between the field and the substation, but you've got to be thinking, how bad do you want to win a Super Bowl? Because these guys are dropping like flies, it seems, at the most critical moments. We saw Dre Greenlaw, I think it was last year, running onto the field and freaking tearing his ACL or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
how about we go ahead and get into this one right here? I know you can't wait. Texans versus
Uh,
Patriots.
I've had some time to think. I've had several days away from football because of the pain. It's just unbearable. Sadness, sorrow, anger, frustration. I feel like I'm in the movie Inside Out right now, just trying to control all my emotions. It's very disappointing. I've already said sad, so I'll say it again. Sad. I'll say angry again. Very angry. It was just a piss poor performance from CJ Stroud. He made several mistakes the week before against the Steelers, and all signs were pointing to, okay, CJ, this is a point of emphasis this week. Secure the ball, protect the ball. And we just didn't see that whatsoever. He threw 4 interceptions in the first half. After the first one, you're thinking, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? He's trying to hit a pass on the boundary to Christian Kirk. Just threw one up praying. Oh, that's what's right near the boundary. Maybe Kirk can go get it. No, Carlton Davis comes out of freaking no man's land and dives for it and got a knee down with an inch to spare in the line of play. And when that happened, I'm like, oh, fuck. We're going to lose. But there was this naive sense of hope and optimism after that. Oh, we'll turn it around. We've got the best defense in the league, best defense since the 2015 Broncos and the Legion of Boom before that. We can pull this out. And our defense was balling until they couldn't ball no more because they were tired of CJ throwing interceptions and turning the ball over. So Dan Orlovsky said if you put 31 other QBs in that position, the Texans would win that game. And as a Texans fan, yes, I'm going to say yes. You could throw just about anybody in the shotgun, controlling the game, and we would have won. It would have been a different scenario. We would be going to Denver to play the Broncos, but no. And man, I'm still just I don't even know what to call this feeling that I have. It's just a sense of disappointment, a sense of anger, frustration, sorrow,
You're going through the
and you just
7 stages of grief right now. That's what it is.
and I'm still on the first stage, second stage. Shit, I don't know. They all mingle after a little while.
Yeah.
It you just know it's a sinking feeling because they're going to pick up his fifth year option. They're going to extend him, and you don't want him to, but there's really no hope. I love CJ. I gave him the benefit of the doubt all year. Still talk shit about him. A QB needs that, especially a franchise QB who has turned that franchise around. But in the biggest moments, he has not stepped up, and he is still chasing that rookie season and the success that he had then. So if we keep him, we more than likely will. He needs to be completely locked in tunnel vision and super laser focused this offseason, learning how to calm down, relax, and get better. Patriots,
Yeah.
great team, great defense, but CJ handed them that win.
Yeah, man. It's tough. If he didn't do so bad, I would be like, man, he's throwing the game. This is fixed. This is rigged. He's throwing it. He's getting paid on the back end. But it was so bad. Like, it's like almost every pass that came out of his hands was getting thrown at a defender versus his receiver, where it's like, man, there's no way he's throwing it because it would be too obvious. Like, he's just really not feeling it. I want to say he's just really that bad, but he's not that bad because we've seen him in moments in his rookie season look like a completely different guy. I will say there's something too, like after that rookie season, they got a lot of film on you now, and that makes a huge difference. And he's dealt with this. He's not had 4 picks before halftime before, but he's dealt with the turnovers throughout the season. And it's just crazy for it to all come to a peak at the worst possible moment, man. And for a moment there, it looked like it was kind of turning around. It was a tough watch. And the defense, man, they did everything they could to just keep him in the game. But, man, how demoralizing is it to every time you give the offense the ball back or make a stop, that dude's just throwing it at the other defenders and freaking turning the ball over. It's insane. So New England scored 28 points, but man, what hope did the defense have after watching that guy go out on the field? And then how about like I'm not a Davis Mills fan, but after the third pick before halftime, you've got to be like, all right, let me put Davis in for a drive, man. I'm just gonna put him in for a drive and talk to CJ and be like, hey, what the fuck is going on, bro? Like, what do we need to do? You know, and just take that time, and then maybe Davis, he's not feeling it. Hopefully, he's great, and he gets y'all ahead, and y'all can keep cruising. But if not, at least you can take a minute and be like, CJ, stop, calm down. Like, this is what we got to do. Or change the scheme and, like, get him some shorter throws, like, get him in a rhythm, you know? But it's almost like the dude's just trying to make these big plays, like, just trying to overextend himself, holding the ball too long. Like, man, just complete a pass. You know what I mean?
They tried to get him going with these in the rhythm with these short passes, and he missed a freaking wide open flat pass. Completely missed him. It's like, my God,
Are you
CJ.
talking about?
It's
I forget who it was. They're running in the flat to the left. The receiver's wide open and the ball's going, and then the ball just looks like it curves to the defender and goes straight to the defender. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, this dude could not catch a break.
CJ was so bad he made the defensive backs look like wide receivers. Good God.
And
But D'Amico just needs to grab him by the back of the neck, turn him around, look at him in the face, tell him to chill the fuck out.
yeah,
Go back
that's
in
what
the
I'm talking
tape
about.
room and make it up.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about the team that actually won the game. New England Patriots. Drake May, 16 for 27, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, 16 carries, 70 yards. Kayshawn Booty, 3 receptions, 75 yards. They're looking good, man. I gotta say, like you said, 31 other QBs would have won that game for the Texans. That does not give me a lot of hope going into the next game for the Patriots. Probably gonna smash the Broncos going against Jarrett Stidham. You never know. You might be surprised, but yeah, that's who I'm leaning towards. What are your thoughts?
I'm definitely visualizing a Patriots and Rams Super Bowl. More than likely, that's what it's going to end up being. You don't want to completely negate what the Broncos have done this season. Their offense, nothing to write home about, but that defense is really good too. They're right up there with the Houston Texans defense, and they've kept that offense in games and have won that team some games. So Drake May, he passed his first big test. He made a few mistakes against the Texans, but ultimately he had 3 touchdowns, and he stepped up when they needed him to against the league's best defense. So him having to do that again against the Broncos defense will be challenging and pretty hard, but I think he'll be able to do it. He's almost solidified and stamped his right to win the MVP this year. Just the way he's played and the poise that he has played with and his pocket awareness that he has outside of the past couple weeks, giving up those fumbles that he has. He just has played really well, and the guys he's throwing to aren't household names. Sean Booty, he's not a household name, but he made a really nice, outstanding one-handed grab for a touchdown that you don't really see plays like that too often, especially in the playoffs when you need them to happen. But when they do happen in that way, it's like, holy crap. Teams that are destined to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, they make those plays. So I see the Patriots winning. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but it'll be fairly close. And the Patriots will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Last question I've got on this one. You said 31 other QBs win that game for the Texans. If you put Philip Rivers in there, 44 years old, does he win the game, in your opinion?
Yes.
Hmm. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy. Short game, short passing game. At least he can make
Yeah.
those throws.
Yeah, man. All right, well, let's get into the next one. The last one on the divisional round, Rams versus the Bears. This is another thriller. This one went into overtime. What are your thoughts on this one?
The Bills and Broncos had the highest viewership this past weekend, but the most entertaining, fun game to watch was the Bears and the Rams. Just when you think the Rams have pulled this off and the Bears have no hope, Caleb Williams does his magic, running around in circles, doing his best Kyler Murray impression, and he just throws a bomb down in the corner of the end zone to Colston Loveland, and Soldier Field goes rocking. Final seconds of the game to tie it, to send him into overtime. And that's the second time, second week straight that Caleb has done something like that. And as a Bears fan, you're disappointed, but you can't really be too mad about how it played out, especially this season. Nobody really counted on the Bears to go anywhere or do anything this year, and they, boom, out of nowhere, with Ben Johnson leading that team, divisional round of the playoffs for the NFL. And they were there until the very end. Caleb threw a pick in overtime, and the Rams got into field goal range and won by a field goal. So it's not like they blew out the Bears in overtime or just completely dominated the whole time. That was an exciting game, and if I'm a Bears fan, I'm super excited and optimistic for the future, especially next year. So, great game, and I'll have to say the Rams might be the NFC favorites.
Yeah, they're definitely the favorites for me, man. Matthew Stafford, 20 for 42, 258 yards. Kyron Williams, 21 carries, 87 yards. They're just looking really good moving into this next round. As far as the Bears, you said it. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm just like, how can I be upset? It was just thrills all the way throughout the season. Picture perfect season, in my opinion. You didn't win it all, but what more could you ask for based on what you were dealing with for the past 10 to 15 years, man? Johnson doing what he did. How can you not be excited thinking about the future? You've got Caleb Williams for the foreseeable future. You got Ben Johnson. And then you think about, man, Ben Johnson hasn't even gotten time to bring his players in there, make some picks, his style of players, really implement his philosophy. And for me, you can do your best to do that in the first year, but really that comes after the next couple of years and developing a culture. And he's done that to a certain extent, but just imagine 3 4 years down the road and what this team can do. You've seen that with Dan Campbell, with a lot of guys that come in and just change the culture for a team. So super exciting for the Bears, super exciting for the Rams, seeing them go into this next round. It's going to be fireworks in this next one. Seahawks versus the Rams. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're down to the final four teams. I'm more excited for the Seahawks and Rams, though. That is going to be a Northwest rainy, cold, wet throwdown between two powerhouses. And ultimately, if there were no conferences and we just have four teams playing for a chance to get into the Super Bowl, these two teams are already the Super Bowl matchup that kind of everybody wants outside of New England.
Yeah, it's super exciting, man. Like I said, I'm going to be glued to the TV for that one, so I can't wait. Let's get into some hires. It's been crazy. It feels like so many hirings have taken place, not just head coachings, but OCs, DCs, and then you just told me earlier there's still 5 spots open, so there's plenty to go around. What are some you want to touch on first?
The hire of the day, Jesse Minter becomes the head coach, agrees to a 5-year deal with the Ravens.
It's crazy, man. Go of a coach like Harbaugh, who's consistent. We talked about it like with Sean McDermott. He's really a cornerstone at this point of the franchise. And you think after that, you bring in a really splashy, flashy name, something to really give your fans hope that, all right, we made the right decision. We got rid of Harbaugh, but we're bringing in XYZ. But they go with Jesse Minter, who's coming from the Chargers. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Um,
Chargers.
So it's definitely surprising. I mean, definitely the guys at the Ravens are seeing what Liam Cohen's doing in his first year, a young, hungry guy who hasn't been in this position before, and several other examples like that in the league at this point. Mike McDonald with the Seahawks. So yeah, that's definitely what they're going for, and you can't blame them. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The Ravens really need this to pan out for them. They're in a win now position. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, with the team they've got put together now, they need to be in contention, or else it's going to be rocky. And you're talking about moving some players around so you can really rebuild. So it's definitely going to be 1 to 2 very very important seasons for this guy, Jesse Minter. So What are your thoughts?
It's interesting because John Harbaugh was a defensive minded coach. And after the Ravens fired Harbaugh, a logical thought would be okay, maybe they want an offensive minded coach. They did not do that. They went and got another defensive minded coach in Jesse Minter. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. There's a couple good offensive coordinator names still available. So if you could get a really good offensive minded coordinator who knows how to work with Lamar, that could pay dividends right off the bat. But like you were saying, I think this is going to take a year or two to see the results come to fruition. This is their time to win. Their window's open now. It's been open for several years, so they're kind of getting towards the end of that, I would think. And they got to be in like a win now mentality. I see Lamar, he's got another decade in him, but is he going to be healthy that whole decade? He could be.
Yeah,
He could not be.
definitely not the same play style for that whole decade. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. But like you said, it wasn't a splashy move, but it could very well be the right move for them. It could be a sneaky move that sets them up more long term than short term. If they really have that belief in Lamar Jackson, I think ultimately it was between John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. Who are they going to roll with? And they chose Lamar. So that just tells me they're in it for the long term.
Well, let's go ahead and get to the next one. Let's talk about Salah, over there with the Titans.
He's a great coach. And what he did for the 49ers this past year, he did a hell of a job throughout the season, plugging and playing players and those guys succeeding with a defensive plan. So I think he's a really good fit. He's a player's coach. He's got a lot of juice to work with. He's got Cam Ward, who impressed me, I would say, this past season. And he's got a lot of potential and upside. They've got over $100 million in cap space to work with. So they're going to make some big splashes this season. They've got Jeffrey Simmons, defensive lineman, all pro. He is a stud. So they got some pieces to work with. And if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm very excited with the potential of what he could have this coming season. What about you?
Super exciting for him and what he's able to put together. You've got to think he's chomping at the bit to, get vindicated from his past couple seasons over with the Jets. So trying to prove his concept of what he's able to accomplish as a head coach. And then what I'm really excited for is to see him go against the Jags and Liam Cohen 2 times a year for the foreseeable future. Those guys almost got into it, we saw at the end of the game with the 49ers and Jags. So super exciting. I'm definitely going to be watching that one. Who's the next one you wanted to go over?
The Falcons hiring Stefanski. And that's not even the biggest news out of that storyline. We have Baker being Baker and stirring the pot and just being the menace that he is. He went out and said that Stefanski didn't talk to him, didn't inform him of anything about decisions when he was there and in Cleveland and when they traded him to Carolina. So he's already got that rivalry stirring up again, and he's got that in full swing between the Buccaneers and the Falcons. So it'll be fun down there. It'll be interesting to see what Stefanski can do. I know he brought a defensive side coach from the Browns who was up there with him for a little while down to Atlanta. So I'm sure there'll be some familiarity between them and their scheme that they did together. It's not like a crazy, oh my gosh, Stefanski went to the Falcons. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's see what he can do down in Atlanta. So it'll be fun to see what he can do down there with that roster. They have, it just seems like Stefanski can't get away from the QB talk and QB situations because they have Kirk Cousins down there still on contract. Are they going to roll with him or are they going to sit with Penix long term? He's coming back from an ACL tear. That's like his fifth one since college. And the Penix project might be done down there in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's tough. You wasted a really good pick there on Penix. So you've got to think, what are you going to do? Like you said, if it's me, I'm rolling with Kirk Cousins. Are they really built to win now? If I'm Kevin Stefanski and my owner's giving me a little leeway, I'm going to want to rebuild. I want to get my players in there. I want to draft a QB. and do all that kind of stuff. Why am I going to try and work with these guys in this system if we know it's not working? We've seen what they can do. We've seen these players in this position, in this scheme. So I'll definitely be wanting to kind of rebuild, especially at Atlanta, where, it's not like they've had a real culture of winning since Dan Quinn and them have left. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I guess not very surprised, but I was surprised that Stefanski got a head coaching job again so soon. But again, I think he won, what was it, Coach of the Year like twice. So it is what it is, and it is something to say. All right, he's coming from Cleveland. It's a shit show. And the same thing with the Jets. Like, oh, it's the Jets. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. If he goes to Atlanta and starts winning, it really isn't looking good over there in Cleveland. And if Stefanski starts winning in Atlanta and I'm Miles Garrett, I'm like, well, it's time to go. Time to get out of here.
The storyline for this coaching hiring tree is that there's still 5 teams without a head coach. You got the Raiders, you got the Bills, you got Arizona, Browns, and Steelers. And it's just very strange, and it doesn't happen often. I don't remember the last time we've had still 5 head coaching positions open. We're knocking on February, and there's still 5 head coaching vacancies. So you're thinking, who in the world is going to fill those positions? I still believe in Sean McDermott. I think he'll find another job. I don't know where he would fit in.
Definitely. Dallas
Maybe
Cowboys.
that would be awesome. Get Schottenheimer out of there.
He showed some promise, but I mean, I'll take the solid. He's a good coach. We know proof of concept versus, oh, this one might work out. He showed good signs in his first season. Yeah, I would definitely go with the guy that, oh, he's shown he can be a good coach, lead a team, win a playoff game, all that good stuff. But again, getting sidetracked. But he's definitely getting a head coaching job somewhere, don't you think? If Stefanski, Saleh, those guys are getting jobs with the amount of playoff games that McDermott has won, you've got to think the Raiders. Come on, the Raiders, if they have a chance to get Sean McDermott, they're getting him, right? Or am I crazy?
You would think Mark Davis would pull the trigger. If I'm Sean McDermott, that is the perfect situation to fall into. They've had the number 1 pick. They're probably going to take Fernando Mendoza with it. So you got your Josh Allen 2.0. You've got Ashton Janney, a very good running back that I believe his underperformance was overshadowed from horrible offensive line play. You've got Max Crosby. So you've got pieces to build a team. You've got the core pieces to build a really good team. Yeah, it's going to take a few years. It's not going to be a 1 year boom, we're back and we're contending.
Yeah.
So I think for the Raiders, that would be great to see Sean McDermott.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's going to take something solid to turn the Raiders around. It feels like they just keep trying to put band-aids on things. Like even the Pete Carroll hires, like, oh, like it just seems like he was done. You saw that at the Seahawks where they're like, oh, let's see what else we can squeeze out of him. Same thing with Geno Smith. Oh, let's see what we can squeeze out of him. Like, y'all just need to restart. Like, get good, high quality players, coaches in there so you know you can really make a difference. You've got your best player, Max Crosby. It seems like every season is like, oh, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So it's like, um, just do something. It's the same way I feel about the Cowboys. Like, just do something you know is solid and it's gonna work out. Yeah, you're gonna have to spend some money, but do you want to win or do you want to be in the same position you've been in for the past 20 years? Anyways,
And then these aren't head coaches, but you got the Chargers hiring Mike McDaniels to be their next offensive coordinator. And then what I thought was the best steal so far, head coaches included outside of Harbaugh with the Giants, is Brian Flores is staying with the Vikings. He's the DC up there with the Vikings. And year in and year out, they constantly have a very good defense. So for them to be able to keep Brian Flores when all these other guys are getting head coaching positions and chances is really telling with what they've got going on up in Minneapolis.
yeah, that was definitely surprising. Definitely thought at least have his hat in the ring, definitely in some more spots, but for him to already commit this early back to Minnesota is pretty eye opening. It's like you said earlier, how many real good head coaching candidates are out there at this point with 5 openings?
What's up, guys? Well, we unfortunately lost some footage from our last couple episodes, so we had to fit in our triumphant moments somehow, so we're back to it. back on the screen, and we're going to come to you with our triumphant moments.
Yeah, man, let's do it. You want to start it off?
Yeah, my triumphant Mendozement is going to be from this past week, the national championship for college football. Mendoza just really performed, outshined everybody. Just the grit that he showed, especially on that fourth down play, QB draw, getting beat up, getting popped, dives into the end zone like Superman. And that really just solidified the outcome of that game. Mendoza is just a dog. You know what you're going to get with him. He doesn't make too many mistakes. And every time you bet against him, he's just there and rises above and meets the expectations. A lot of times exceeds those expectations. He performed really well, and that play on fourth down to score a touchdown diving like that, and seeing his arms and his body after the game just all bruised up and banged up, he's really triumphant. You think about where he has come from. I don't even think he's like a one-star recruit, and then his first 2 seasons were in Cal. Never heard of him. Last year, Fernando Mendoza, you started to see him connect with Siggy and see them build that program up in just 2 years. And then boom, this year he won the Heisman. That's super triumphant, just realizing where he came from and where he's at now.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with you. Just what he's been able to do in these short 2 seasons at Indiana. At times, putting the team on his back, really not doing anything too flashy, but just when everything matters the most, when the time is right, he just makes that one play to push him across the finish line. So, super triumphant. And I can't get enough of this kid. Like, how can you hate him? Everything he does is just, it seems like the right move. Super, super great kid. For my triumphant moment, I'm going to go with Kurt Signetti. Just someone that is the epitome of triumphant. What he did 2 years ago in that press conference, calling his shot, saying that they'd be here in this moment. You know, why not us? Why not Indiana? And then just showing it. We said it earlier. He didn't have a bunch of 5 stars, bunch of 4 stars. Like, this is like half of a JMU squad and just like organic what he's doing. So not only did he do it for Indiana, but every other small market, Indiana, you know, these teams that aren't really blue bloods in this NIL era, showing, you know, proof of concept what you're able to do. Like, coaching really matters, culture, grit, and that can carry you all the way to a national championship. So triumphant. The truth is, Kurt Signetti could have not done this, and everyone would have forgot, everyone would have laughed it off, and he would have just been like everyone else. But he called his shot, he executed, and it's the epitome of what this segment means here.
He is indeed triumphant, cocky, yet very humble, and just a leader of men and a leader of young men.
Yeah, that's the thing about what they say, cockiness or confidence. You know, you can be like that when you've put in the work, and you know you've put in the work. That's all you need to back that up. So you can't blame him for that. And at the end of the day, they got exactly what he needed. So,
Well, that will end this segment. We will be back with you full swing this coming week. Fingers crossed we won't have any technical difficulties. And let us know your thoughts in the comments. Drop a like, drop a follow. We'll see you then.
see you, man.